You should revise your age preferences if you recently returned to the singles scene. Older guys are valued for a variety of reasons. Therefore, if you come across an older man who is single, you should not hesitate to pursue him. Here are the top 10 reasons why to date older men. Number 10. Evolutionary genes. The solution to the question of why women date older men can be found in your reproductive capacities, when seen from the perspective of evolutionary theory. When a woman is in her 20s, her fecundity is at its highest. Fertility is valued more highly by men than youth, even if this is unconscious preference. You will note that the video goes on to explain an alternative viewpoint to that hypothesis, which is something to keep in mind. It's entirely possible that we gravitate toward other folks who are just like us. As you can see, there are no definitive explanation or even viewpoint as to why some women would benefit from dating an older man. This is despite the fact that this question has been asked numerous times. It is contingent on both the circumstances and the individuals involved. Number 9. Greater life experience. The joy of relationship consists for many different kinds of women in the ability to experience life and make errors together. Despite this, dating an older man might provide some younger women with the much-needed support they need. To put it another way, an older man who is able to flaunt a fancy car in addition to a wonderful apartment and all of the appropriate attire must be doing something right. On the other hand, most of us, unconsciously, harbor the suspicion that a young man cannot maintain such displays of riches for an extended period of time. Imagine a peacock showing off his beautiful feathers as an analogy for this situation. It is a testament to the quality of his ancestry that he still possesses these qualities at his advanced years. If you believe that the mating game is nothing more than a wild game, he will leave that decision up to you. Number 8. The other woman. Do girls appreciate older guys? Some people have the tendency to make the assumptions that older boys are less likely to cheat than younger ones. However, the data indicate otherwise. When they reach their 50s, 60s, and even 70s, men are more likely to cheat on their partners. The 1960s was a pivotal decade for women. Is it therefore possible that some relationships between older men and younger women begin as extramarital affairs? It goes without saying that no one should pass judgment before learning the details of the matter. Do not, however, make the assumption that older men will be faithful if you are one of the younger ladies who desires older guys. Know of the age difference between the partners. A healthy relationship requires effort and commitment. Number 7. More power and confidence. If you're in the game of dating older men, you've probably had your fill of dealing with immature lads in their 20s or even 30s. If this sounds like you might consider dating younger women instead. The age is dependent not just on your actual age, but also on how much life experience you have. Despite this, dating an older man might make you feel as though you are surrounded by a halo of confidence and authority. In most cases, older men have more experience and are more senior in their employment. As a result, they understand how to make things happen. No more wasting time standing in line at prestigious hotels and restaurants to get a table or a drink. Number 6. Greater stability. Because of the roles that we're expected to play in accordance with the norms of society, perhaps younger women and older men make a good match. After all, the majority of us are raised in patriarchal societies, which condition us to believe that men are the primary breadwinners in the family. Therefore, by definition, older men will have more time to figure out their occupations, which will then allow them to provide for their female counterparts, or possibly not. Majority of couples that get married are really closer in age to one another. This shows that women who do choose older men may be looking for security in their lives sooner than later. Number 5. Wiser and more grounded. Do women favor older men? Some women do, but it's difficult to generalize about such a nuanced choice of solely on age alone. People who find themselves drawn to older men typically perceive in them someone who is more at ease with themselves and who has a clearer idea of what they want out of life. This is further supported by an intriguing story that was published on the BBC website about the prime of your life. When we enter our 40s, we begin to experience a decline in our mental and creative powers. Nevertheless, we begin to see an increase in both our social reasoning and overall life satisfaction. The average person is at their happiest in their 60s, which is also the decade in which they have the best relationship with their feelings. Number 4. Commitment friendly. There's a common perception among women who date older guys that the older partners are more dedicated. When you consider the fact that we reach the time in our lives when we are most pleased with life, which is often somewhere between the ages of 40 and 60, this makes perfect sense. That in no way implies that males of a younger age cannot be devoted relationships. Nevertheless, elderly folks appear to exude a glow of happiness that is nearly impossible to avoid being drawn into. Number 3. Social position. There are several social advantages to older males dating younger women. Individuals have a tendency to presume that older people have more money, which leads to the widespread perception that older people command greater respect. This is especially true in social situations. These men also come from different generations and are sometimes more conventional in the way that they treat women, in the way that they interact with them. That perspective is appreciated by many women, and they take pleasure in being cared for. In addition to this, dating an older man typically means that he's the one who initiates the relationship. Obviously, we're making an assumption there. Regardless, while we are younger, we often respond to this kind of attention with a greater degree of elation than we do as we become older. When you're a young woman, you have instant status, and you no longer have to wait for the young men your age to work up the guts to ask you out. Number 2. More resources. Do women favor older men? Although the age gap between men and women is often only a few years wide, it does appear that the majority of research suggests that men are older than women. The significant age difference is the primary factor that most people find either shocking or fascinating. If you're one of the many women who finds yourself drawn to older men, there is a good chance that it's because these guys have it all figured out at this point in their lives. In the most fundamental sense, older men have wealth, possessions, and network resources that may have built up over the course of several decades. In this way, if one of life's challenges presents itself, they will be better able to find a solution that works for both them and their younger partner. Number 1. Establish gender roles. If you're still curious about what draws a younger woman to an older man, you should also consider the role that society plays in shaping your attitudes and behaviors. The relationship of younger women, older men could appear to be a choice, but the study of the age disparity between spouses reveals that there is something more complicated going on. In a nutshell, it would appear that bargaining rather than free will is the driving force behind the formation of partnerships. This coming together process is complicated, and most people who call themselves experts ignore the fact that there are also rejections involved before we finally partner up with someone. Not only in terms of couples, but also in terms of dating trends. Men and women typically do not end up with their preferred ages for romantic partners. It is important to note that men make 90% of the first moves in the so-called negotiation process. This has a significant impact on the outcome of the process. In addition, we cannot help but be influenced by the standards that society imposes and the expectation that women should be more controlled. Of course, a significant number of females are conspiring to disprove that notion. However, we can still find it in operation now. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching,